On this day, in 1930, just after 3 p.m. in the afternoon, 6 gunshots rang out from within a room in a boarding house at 28 Manning Street, South Brisbane. As startled residents made their way out into the hall in order to investigate, they converged on the door from which the shots had emanated. Before they could turn the doorknob, the door flew open and 32-year-old Florence Hillen lurched out, sporting gunshot wounds to her left wrist, left breast, right upper arm and left cheek. Amazingly, she seemed little affected by her wounds and was placed in the hall while the other residents entered her room to investigate. 29-year-old Albert Lusk was discovered lying on the floor of the room, bleeding from gunshot wounds to his head. To the residents' complete surprise, Albert sat up before them, stumbled from the room and out into Manning Street. A passing constable noticed Albert was bleeding substantially from the head and stopped to question him. Albert immediately admitted to shooting a woman 4 times in the nearby boarding house. Startled at the admission, the constable placed him under arrest, and Albert and Florence were forwarded with haste to the Brisbane General Hospital, where they spent the next few weeks being treated for their injuries. At the subsequent court hearing, it turned out that both Albert and Florence were married to different partners, however had been living together at various residences around Brisbane for some time. It was clear that Albert had long-term plans for their relationship. However, Florence felt differently and had made her feelings clear to her suitor before moving to Manning Street a week prior to the shooting. So, concocting a plan to murder Florence and then commit suicide, Albert proceeded to buy a .22 caliber revolver and cut down the barrel to aid in concealment. Visiting Florence's room on the 13th of April, he locked the door behind them and then shot Florence 4 times before shooting himself in the head and collapsing to the floor. Wounded but conscious, Florence attempted to recover the key from Albert's apparently lifeless body on the floor. Incredibly, Albert sat up and pushed her away, shooting himself in the head a second time and collapsing again. Moments later, the other residents of the boarding house arrived on the scene. At the end of the trial, Albert was sentenced to 2 years imprisonment for the crime and was urged by the judge to forget Florence, something he clearly did not do. On release in 1932, Albert again threatened to kill Florence and was placed on a good behaviour order, after which he seemed to behave himself, for a little while anyway. In 1935-1936, Albert's life took another downward turn. Having moved into a rental property with another woman at Woolloongabba, their house would mysteriously burn down on the 26th of January 1935. The fire was reported to police and the insurance company eventually paid out on the destroyed dwelling and furniture around January 1936. However, it turned out that nothing was quite as it seemed. It was alleged that the owners had offered to pay Albert a considerable sum of money to burn the house and allow them to collect the insurance. When the insurance money finally came through, Albert's new love, Grace Oswald, advised that she now planned to marry another man. Incapable of going through a similar situation to that which had seen him jailed for 2 years in 1930, Albert bought another revolver, sat on the steps of Ainsworth Grocers on Fairfield Road late on the night of the 24th of January 1936 and shot himself through the chest, again without fatal consequences. As a result of failing to kill himself a second time, Albert admitted to the arson from a year earlier and ended up back in court. Incriminating the owners and his lover in the insurance scam, the judge sentenced Albert to a further 2 years in jail. One can only hope that Albert's life after release in 1938 settled down, as he seems to disappear into obscurity.